The Roots of Success podcast is for the landscape professional who's looking to up their game. We've got a brain trust of experts to help you nurture the roots of a successful business and grow to the next level. This is the Roots of Success.
Welcome to another episode of Roots of Success podcast, and I'm your host, Tommy Cole. We have an awesome guest today. I'm super excited about, as I do for all of our guests. They are awesome. If you have no idea who this person is, if you've been living under a rock for 75 years, you might have been, but this is Lex Mason, president of Weathermatic. How are you, Lex?
I'm doing great, and I promise I have not been around for 75 years, but yeah, Weathermatic has, man. So great to be here. Thanks, Tommy.
Absolutely. Weathermatic is, let's give you a quick plug, leading provider of water-conserving technology and services for 75 years, servicing landscape professionals with a full line of products and services. Whew, oh my gosh, it's a lot. I think you guys just started out as like a little Weathermatic lawn sprinkler system. I'm looking at this picture with like suits and top hats and looking at the sign, and I'm like, oh my God, 75 years later, crazy. I think I've known you since about the 2008 time frame. We worked together a lot at a previous company, and since then it's just been an awesome relationship all through the years, and it's been great. And I've been like, we got to have Lex on. I think I saw you at NELP last year, and we're finally come to the moment.
Love it, man. Yeah, the schedule seems to just be getting busier and busier as we go on, but this is, a ton of fun. And it's crazy to look back. You know, we're nearing our 80th year of existence here, and thinking about where the business started as a landscaping company, actually, and it kind of morphed into doing an irrigation contracting. Couldn't get good parts, and the guy said, well, screw it, I'm going to go build it myself. Yeah. You know, the original founding of the Snotty family, the original founding family of Weathermatic. And, we were fortunate to buy the business about 30 years ago, and I never looked back. So that's it. So if you've got something around you, you think there's an opportunity there, when opportunity knocks, make sure you grab it and run.
Jump in. It's all about taking risks and keeping the foot down and going. Love it.
That's it.
So let's start off. Like, what, in your words, what is Weathermatic? It's a nice term, but there's all these components, Smartlink and Smart System and these controllers and parts. But like, give me the elevator pitch of what Weathermatic is and what they're about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way to think about it is kind of like how landscape companies will have a construction division and a maintenance division, right? We're basically the same thing. We have a construction division where we sell things like spray heads and nozzles and valves and controllers to new construction, projects, whether it's residential, commercial. We call it our turf business, right? So turf irrigation. We don't really do much ag work or golf work, but just commercial, residential, landscape irrigation. We have a traditional manufacturing business over there. That's the 75 years worth of legacy that's been around for a long time, and will be around for a long time. Mm-hmm. The Smartlink side of the business really is our maintenance side of the business, Gotcha. Right? That's the recurring technology side of the business that was born from a vision that we had to go, hey, it's one day, this was about 20 years ago, we had a vision that one day there will be a need for every commercial property, for every commercial maintenance contractor, for every high-end residential maintenance contractor is going to have remote access to the controllers that they manage, either due to the cost of water, the cost of labor, the crazy traffic patterns that we all live in every day, that data, that remote connection is going to be so important at some point in the future. And lucky enough, right, we built the platform, then, and our business today is pretty simply helping to take landscape maintenance contractors, irrigation division, which is a funny phrase. I call it the redheaded stepchild, right? It's a lot of times out of sight, out of mind. We'll get to it later. Yeah. Like, I don't care that we're losing a little bit of money on it. Like
just make it work.
Just make it work.
Like,
yeah. Keep the fires out and don't lose any customers from it. And what we found out is that if you actually dive in, and we've built a process for it, not just Smartlink, the technology, but the actual process. And we've hired some of the best people in the industry to help really coach and hold the hands of landscape professionals to implement this system. in our process and turn irrigation into a major leading profit center for the business. So in a nutshell, I'll stop at that, but that's kind of the two sides of our business and what we're focused on.
Yeah, that's great. You know what's funny is that I don't think we would have thought of 20 years ago of having remote access. And now it has come to like, it's an automatic given deal. I remember early in my career looking at controllers and turning the dial and then running all the way across the building and go, is it running? Wait, was that zone 6 or 7? Crap. Run all the way back, turn it off and start back over, right? And I'm like, so the technology is there. It's great. Now everything is on app based. Everything is on, iPad, it's phone, it's laptop, remote access. What's one thing that has basically changed everything because of remote access?
I think it's the accessibility of it. And so what I mean by that, and it's a little different answer than probably what people would traditionally think, is that the way in which we price it to make it now accessible for a landscape professional to build this into their contract, to make it a standard, line in the budget of this is just how we go deliver service, instead of trying to train their team on how to go do water savings analysis reports and ROI studies and try to talk people into why water matters when they may or may not actually care about it. And hey, this thing will save us so many trips and make our team so much more efficient. And the customer goes, well, then great for you. What does that do for me?
Yeah.
Not my problem, right? I hired you to be out there. And so it's a little bit of a go-to-market study that we did about 7 years ago of something's not right here. And so really tailoring our package, not changing the technology, not changing the product, but really tailoring the way in which we bring the product to market and the niche that we serve, which we can get into niching later and things like that, which I think is one of the most powerful things to do. Getting the pricing, how to do it, not just the cost, but physically how to deliver pricing to make it accessible for our target clientele. It was 10x overnight. We went from selling 100 control systems a year to selling 1,000 control systems a month. I mean, it was that level of radical change that happened, is just making it accessible to the people that actually benefit the most from the product. Right. And now the water savings and the sustainability is awesome. I've got a heart for that. But it's the cherry on top. It's the whipped cream, right? It's the bonus on top of the foundation that it does for a labor-starved landscaping business.
So Lex, you hit on something, the pricing structure. I really want to dive into that. Yeah. I talked about we can run around the building and push buttons and the client's like, so cool, so what, whatever. What do you mean by pricing? Like in the line item. So you're saying like include that in your bid for maintenance, include it for the installation, and it's a line item. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the easiest way I can kind of compare it is think about when everyone, the 36-inch push mowers, and then we went to big, 48-inch, ZTRs and the 52s. And, you run your equation, right? When you're estimating a job on, hey, what's the biggest, fastest piece of equipment I can perform maintenance on this job? You're not quoting everything like you're pushing 24-inch stand behinds. You're quoting it with the appropriate equipment.
Yep.
You're not going to the client and asking them if they'd like to invest in a 52-inch ZTR so that you can perform the maintenance on the job, right? Your equipment, your people, your overhead are all costed into the project. And that was the major shift. And it's really easy to, hey, instead of paying, one time up front, let's spread out payment over 36 months. That wasn't really the ingenious, thing that happened here. It certainly helped.
Yeah.
But it was more so around coaching, our clients who are going, we need this technology. I've got to be more efficient. I have to turn my irrigation division into a profit center, not just a loss leader. And I don't know how to go sell this thing to my 182 clients, right? There's zero chance I'm going to 100% approve on an enhancement upgrade. And so training them on how to take that $30, $40 a month cost and just cost it in as a standard line item in a contract to be now the way we deliver our service.
Yeah.
Those two things paired together from a pricing standpoint changed the whole game, because now it made really this smart remote connected technology that used to be only the top 5 or 10% of landscape companies had the competency to go and sell based on ROI and sell based on understanding water bills and budgets. Only to their top 10 or 20% of clients that actually gave a crap about it, all the way down now to where, I mean, the 80-20 rule, 90% of landscape companies have the competency to implement this, execute it, and benefit from it without having any pushback or kind of any customer required. This is now a tool for the landscape company by the landscape company that benefits them directly. And it just so happens to deliver an awesome byproduct to their customer, which is compliance, with local water restrictions.
Yeah.
Moving dollars from Uncle Sam, right? The water authority.
Yeah.
This, I think, is the craziest thing in the world. Why on earth do we want to spend as a HOA community or an apartment community? Why do we want to send so much money to Uncle Sam, the utility district, instead of reclaiming those dollars and reinvesting into the property? And so all those things together really took us from being a controller manufacturing company now to a trusted advisor to right at 300 landscape companies that have implemented this initiative. So it's never one thing that's the silver bullet. It's a combination of it, but pricing, structure, and then the way in which we bring it to market and advise, those three things together, it just, Tommy, man, our business we're so blessed, but it's a different business today than it was 10 years ago.
No, it's great. So if you're a landscape business, say you've got 100 maintenance clients and you got 3, 4, 5 different controllers out there and you're kind of running around, you know the story, Lex, but I have seen it with my own eyes. Rip the Band-Aid off, go with Weathermatic. You guys have such a great customer service because I know you guys, you're down the street from our office. So great customer service to set up that entire system that says we're going to go all in with 100 Weathermatic controllers. So it's consistent across the board. We train on one controller. You guys do continuing education, in-house, at a house, can travel, set things up, be remotely. Explain why that is such a huge attribute to Weathermatic, because I've lived through it and I've seen it. And it's way different than your competitors. So explain a little more about that.
Yeah, and I got to give a lot of credit to Mike. Mike Mason, my father, who probably, I was a little green in the beginning. He gave me a lot longer rope than I was anticipating, or frankly even realized I had. And so whether it was trust or luck or just blissful. Yeah, exactly. It was hey buddy, gave you enough to hang yourself. Like, let's see what you go get done. And so right off the bat, we took on all of the sales and marketing responsibility personally, because I knew that if we were going to try to position ourselves as a consultant, as a partner with these businesses, you can't do it unless you have the back end, the structure for it. So yeah, Tommy, I mean, over the past 4 or 5 years, we've built now, even against the mainstream, let's call it construction competitors, we've built the largest field service, field installation, remote monitoring and reporting team structure, technical support, in-field technical support, both in regions that have a lot of presence in, as well as a ton virtually. We've built the largest group in this industry. And so, I mean, like right now, we're implementing for a handful of clients, we're implementing over 5,000 controller conversions in the Pacific Northwest alone. I mean, just see basically Portland and Seattle, between just those two markets, causing very limited disruption to the internal day-to-day operations of those teams and people on standby monitoring the process. So we knew when we wanted to position ourselves as that partner in this division of the company that we thought was the largest untapped profit center the average landscaper has access to, that doesn't require any new hires, that doesn't require a crazy capital investment. They don't have to go recruit new customers or buy a $400,000 tree truck or chemical applicator. It's simply plug it in, budget it in, and then get to work, and we hold your hand through the process. And so we knew we had to build that back end support team. We call it customer success. I know you guys do a lot of work on title alignment. We stole that customer success term from really just the technology software industry. Of our job is not to manage a customer. Our job, and we truly look at it this way, is we're not happy until the customer is seeing the results. And we have some that are happy with using the first.
Yeah.
You hear this about some of the leading business softwares in landscaping where it's, oh, we're only using 10% or 20% of it. And, we're happy. We're really not happy until they're at critical mass of using the system, seeing the full results that we know it's capable for. And buddy, the thing that has been the number one testimony to it, that now in the past 7 years of launching 200 clients on this initiative, we've had precisely one turn Smartlink off out of 200.
Wow.
And unfortunately, that was because they went out of business, and they were so kind that they actually were able to package the stuff up and send it back to us before the bank put a lock on the gate. I mean, so like that's the level of relationship and
That's
kind of ability that we have. And I'm just so grateful for our team and what they've done to really put us in that world-class state of service and support.
That's great. Let's talk about some specifics. That way we can sort of put everything to rest. So I hear from some of my clients that Weathermatic versus the competition about the spray heads, the nozzles, the rotors, the MPs, like they're a little bit different, or it's not. When I go down the street to my local little distributor and I pick up a handful of nozzles, like I'm just accustomed to doing that.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, Tommy, I don't understand. I'm just going to go down the street and grab a few things. What would you say to those people that said that they're just kind of set in their ways and they don't really know Weathermatic, or they've heard like one story that's probably not true based on Weathermatic type deal, but to have 75 years in the business, started out as the sprinkler part and now moving also to this reoccurring maintenance thing. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, there's any 75, 80-year-old business is going to have some baggage to it. I mean, we bought, just so everybody doesn't think this has just been easy street over here. I mean, we bought Weathermatic when it was doing $5 million in revenue and lost $1 million a year before. So the word bought is a very glamorous term for we were assigned the debt. And so we got the equity.
Yeah.
That was the buying process of Weathermatic 30 years ago.
Painful process, but here we are.
Yeah. Painful process, a product problem in nearly every line of the business. So, thinking back on it, should we have bought the assets and rebranded and done something else? But Weathermatic had such a great reputation, even 30 years ago, for being the leader in education. We were the first state licensed sponsor. Actually, the College of Irrigation Knowledge is what we called it for the old timers out there who remember it. We were the first licensing organization who partnered with the state of Texas to build curriculum to get irrigation into that level of trade like plumbing and electrician. And so there's a lot of brand equity around that. But absolutely, I mean, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, not the business that we had today. Today, what I'd tell you is, again, going back simply on that stat of, out of 200 now, almost 250, clients having precisely one turn the thing off. I mean, that should speak for itself. The individual turf products, I got to give you guys a ton of credit for that. We've got our warranty statistics that I can quote that are frankly better than a handful of the competitors, and some product lines are as equal in a couple of the other product lines. I think the real value to your audience is this whole new wave of digital e-commerce platforms, cutting out the cost of retail, what McFarland and the ACE program has brought to your consumers through cooperative buying models and things like that. I mean, it's happened in aviation. It's happened in hospitality. It happens in insurance every day, right? These co-op buying groups so that you can leverage the buying power of your entire institution, your entire group, to get access to pricing that, frankly, the publicly traded companies of the world, have access to, or the top maybe 5 on the LM150 have access to that crazy level pricing, and it just creates an unfair advantage. Your group now has access to it because the collaborative buying power of your team.
Yeah.
So we stand behind everything with full force. You can come visit us here in Dallas anytime you want to.
I highly recommend.
Yeah,
by the way,
great time.
Yeah, great facility, great learning. I mean, what a better way to see the trinkets of how everything works, because then you can go back to your shop and go, not that you know how everything works, but you just know the story behind Weathermatic. It's
Yeah.
almost like you're bought into that commitment that the Mason family took over. That was the dream when you first bought it, the $5 million company, right? But it's
Yep.
come a long ways. I recommend everyone flying to Dallas and seeing that entire operation.
Absolutely. And the one other thing I'll just hit on about that is on the turf products, like the sprays, is we went through a catalog of, frankly, we had kind of taken the bait of, well, hey, our other kind of traditional competitors are trying to be everything for everybody. And they're trying to have, 1,200 SKUs in a catalog so that from the beginning of the project to the end of the project, they can sell you every single little thing on there, whether they OEM it, whether they actually manufacture it, whether they're just reselling it from some of their purchases. And so we whittled down our catalog to what are the things that we believe either A, we have such a radical quality advantage on that we're willing to be above average market pricing on because of the integrity and the quality of the product, the performance of the product, or B, where can we meet or exceed quality standards, but have an incredible, pricing advantage, to bring those things to market or some other form of intellectual property that others just don't have. And everything else in the catalog that we had tried to Me Too or, two-step or
Yeah.
buy and resell and make 5% or 10, we just cut it. And we said, we don't have to be everything. And so we've got about 50 core SKUs that we either personally, engineer, manufacture, and sell, and a handful of real trusted kind of OEM partners that we do some products through as well. And we got rid of everything else. And Tommy, doing that right there, I think there's probably a story in there somewhere for landscape companies of getting out of the things that aren't core competency.
Yes.
Just because you think, or just because you think the market tells you have to, stop it.
Well, we've all been there, Lex, as landscape guys. When we start a business, it's no different than what you guys did. It's like, we're going to service everything and we got to say yes to people.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. And then as the years go by, you start to really tailor the business to more of a Chick-fil-A model, right? It's chicken. Don't overcomplicate everything. Simplify the process, the products, the services, all that you guys have learned truly the hard way. Truly the hard way.
You got it.
Smartline controllers and Smartlink technology. Can you explain like what that means? So, and if everyone's any kind of confused on what those are.
Yeah. So Smartline is the controller platform, was really the first kind of heavy residential, light commercial, heavy commercial, affordable line of weather-based controllers that hit the market. They came back out in 2004. The first year that we released the platform, we won the Irrigation Association New Product of the Year. It was in a bunch of magazines, a bunch of articles, had a bunch of awards for taking something that had traditionally been a $7,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 investment to get a weather scheduling control system we could do for a couple $100. And so won a ton of awards, and that was really our first jump into the electronics or the technology side of our business. Flash forward to 2012, but from the day we released Smartline, the controller line, we knew that someday this was going to be connected to the internet. It was going to be remote enabled. We knew that the 1,000 property owners and management groups, we knew that the landscape companies managing hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of properties were going to need to have remote access to. So from 2004, if you think about it, before iPhone, right, we had a vision of people are going to need to monitor and manage this thing remotely. How insane is that? Before freaking Apple got it to market, we were thinking about that then.
Yeah. Steve Jobs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and irrigation. Maybe we should have gone a little broader or something. But no, happy where we are. But that was it. And then in 2012, we released the first version of Smartlink, super early. And so it has, from that port, Smartlink is your link to the controller. And so we'll make jokes like get linked and go link yourself, and you got to get linked up and all that. So those are our Smartlink is ultimately what powers the whole thing to give you that remote connection access. And then all of the kind of business operating tools, all the integrations with, folks like Aspire, Element, and Boss and QuickBooks, and everything kind of stems from that to go from all of the internal operations at a landscape company, from scheduled inspections to documenting repairs, to pricing out those repairs, to getting, sending proposals or requests to clients, ultimately to flowing through to your ERP system or your biz ops system. That whole workflow that should happen within the irrigation division, including dashboards of, are our techs getting their jobs done?
Yeah.
Are we hitting our inspections goal? All of those things, we built those systems into Smartlink. And so that's kind of the Smartline is the physical controller.
Okay.
Smartlink is really the software platform that powers the whole deal.
Very good. What I like about the Smartly, what's one of my little isms that I coach to all the time, is having constant communication with your clients. And what I mean by constant, is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Whatever that is in your business, okay? One of the things I always use, because I love Weathermatic so much, is the feature of the inspection report. It is fascinating because you guys are way advanced than anybody else. And what I mean by that, I have seen it off of multiple landscape companies. Your tech can go in there, do a full audit, come up with a report with itemized zones that are working or non-working, and their failures of each zone, along with pictures. You can put your company logo on it, and that document can go straight to the client as a communication platform to them and say, this is what we noticed in your system. We're doing the repairs. Because what happens, Lex? Every month or every quarter, you're doing an inspection. You're like, well, that's wrong and that's wrong. And we fixed this, Miss Smith, and here's your bill for $800. And she's like, well, I don't understand it.
Yeah, I thought you fixed that last month. Yeah.
Where you fixed that? I got another invoice for $200. What happened this time 3 months later? A picture is worth 1,000 words. Am I right or wrong, or I'm just crazy?
No.
But that is like game changer technology for your landscape business.
No, it's 1,000%. And to simplify it, we can geek out about the details on this thing. Yeah. But here's the quick start guide, right? When I bought this new microphone equipment, did I read the whole catalog? No, I read the 3-step quick start. Yeah. Right. Okay. You're a landscape company. You're managing 100, 200, 500 sites, whatever. I think Jeffrey Johns, a client of y'all, says it so well, right? His irrigation team went from an average daily billable capacity of about 5.5 to 6 hours a day, to 9.5 billable hours a day, because of all the capacity, all the firefighting, can you go change this? The color is struggling. We got to do our overseed program. The snow is rolling in earlier. There's a cool front. The rain is coming. There's so many things when you get under the covers and understand how many non-value add tasks, not just your irrigation techs, but your account managers, your VPs are running around town to try to, keep from getting fired on a job when they're sensitive that stuff is running when it shouldn't be, or vice versa, should be running and isn't. All of those things add up to such an internal distraction that gets eliminated when this comes in. And so now, what usually is the first thing to get cut when life gets busy and fires come up are your inspections. Mm-hmm. And so the vast majority of companies that we work with have less than a 40% inspection completion rate.
Wow.
And so you might think about that and go like, oh, okay, well, they're saving money, not saving guys, go out there and they're not getting fired for not meeting the spec of their contract, so they're okay. Well, an inspection, guys, is the funnel. That's your sales funnel.
Yep.
And so when we're complaining about that thing not being profitable or irrigation not being a very big part of the business, so why would I spend so much time focusing on 5% of my business? Well, guys, that's the problem. It shouldn't be 5% of your business. It should be 20 to 25% of your business. Yeah. Because every time life gets busy, we stop doing inspections, which means you stop filling up the sales funnel, which means you're delivering a worse product, a worse service to your client. instead of staying on top of repairs. I had a wise old guy one time. We were walking through the deal, and he goes, "The two reasons why I ever get fired." And I go, "What, Jim?" And he goes, "Water and weeds."
Yeah.
I was like, there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
Some issue around water, some issue around weeds. And so we at least solve half the equation. And I'll argue that getting the right amount
I
of
think you
water.
can solve it all. So my recommendation, here's it. There's two reasons you always get fired from a maintenance contract:
Okay.
irrigation and communication.
I love that. You're not wrong. I mean,
I'm telling you, and if you're in the South, man, for 4 to 6 months, you better be ready to go with that in the off season, so that you're prepared for the real true growing season. That and communication. And when you line up with the inspection reports and you get the data and the reports to them, that nips those two things, and you keep going and you keep your clients for a long time.
I'll tell you what Peak and Pacific and 7Ds and all those guys and DeSantis up in the north, the Pacific Northwest taught me. I had no idea how dry they were for like 2.5 months a year. I thought it was, just wet year round. And I'm going, why are you having us come up here? How does this make any sense? Bob goes, you have no idea the hair on fire, which I thought was a funny joke coming from Bob. The hair on fire situation that it is for 2 months to keep this stuff green.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. He goes, because all of the judgment comes those two dry, arid months. If this stuff doesn't stay green, if we're not ensuring that stuff is running when it should be, he goes, and you can kiss that renewal goodbye.
Correct. Love it. Let's shift gears a little bit, Lex.
Go.
Talk about the team that is built over there at Weathermatic. I've never met anyone grumpy, anyone that's not a good culture fit. Not at all, ever. Never in all the years since 2008. There's this thing called the 3 C's that I really, really love. And maybe you guys have got lucky and maybe you really tried and true by this, but it's the guiding principles of our people. You talk about the 3 C's. You talk about those three and what it's built of a team of people at Weathermatic.
Well, Mike, and this was really what Brody championed almost 20 years ago when him and Mike, I mean, it was them two and a ragtag group around here. And they were the kind of the skunk works group, right? We got to turn around this little $5 million business, losing $1 million a year. And we need a strategy around people. And so Mike and Brody got together and they read a bunch of books and they talked about it. And they came up with this philosophy that we call the 3 C's. And it's the screening process, almost like a report card, an evaluation card, if you will, of no one enters these doors at Weathermatic unless multiple, and now we have which I got to credit our guy, Anthony Herrera here, who has really leveled us up on the internal screening and all that process. But everyone has to come through these 3. And so it's character, competency, and chemistry.
Yeah.
None of them are negotiable. And so to expand a little bit, so character, right? I went to a private Christian high school here in North Texas, Trinity Christian Academy, for any, Pinkies Up fans out there. But they had what they called a 24/7 policy, right? And it was who you are at school is who you are at home, as long as you're a paying registered student here.
Yeah.
And so very much the same. The way that you represent us here at the office is what we expect to be represented when we're at trade shows, when we're at after hours events at trade shows, when we're doing dinners and entertaining. If you're drinking, carousing, cursing on the weekends, and then show up here and want to button your top button and come through the door and all that stuff goes away, that doesn't work for us. And that's okay. There's plenty of places out there where that's encouraged and not necessarily a bad thing, but just for here, it doesn't work. And then we get to chemistry, right? And so chemistry is the Chick-fil-A thing, right? They don't hire people. If you don't greet the interviewer with a smile, you can't train someone to smile instinctively. And so you're either a smiler or you're not a smiler. And so they don't accept the interview past that unless you greet the interviewer with a smile. So is it a pleasure to see you? When I walk down the hallway, do I smile at you and say, hey, how's your day going? Like, are you a good team player? Yeah. Are you collaborative? Are you basically, you're either a culture builder or you're a culture detractor. Yeah. There is really no room in the between to go, oh, they're fine and they're this and they're not going to really be you are either a culture contributor or you're a culture detractor. And then finally, is the competency piece. And this is the one that most people spend the most time focused on. And really, from what I've found, it is, we say all three are on level playing fields. I think that most people are pretty good at figuring out, hey, can this person do the job or not? Do they have references that can do the job? But we take a little different spin on it. It's not just about if they can do the job. It's that every hire that we make has to make the team better. Right. And so Anthony shared this idea with me of, buddy, do you realize that every time, let's say that you have 5 customer success managers, and in our world, account managers, right? Mm-hmm. Every time you're hiring one, you're either hiring one worse than the best person on the team or better than the best person on the team.
Very true.
And so are you making a decision that you're going to pay somebody the same or a little more, a little less, like whatever it may be? You're either raising the bar of the team with your future hires, or you're lowering the bar on the team with every hiring decision that you make. And so are you the best at your job, or are you working your tail off to become the best at it? That continual improvement kind of mentality. So that's our 3 C's. And do we get it right 100% of the time? No, but we have a pretty hard look after 6 months, and we got to make sure that we are on track on those 3 things, regardless, frankly, of corporate gain or impact that they're making. If we can't stack up on the character and chemistry piece, it's now I've painted myself in a corner, right? We can't proceed if they're not hitting on those things.
Right. Love it. 3 C's. I love the culture you guys are building over there. It is absolutely contagious. I could see it when we're at shows, at events, and even just walking through the building. Lex, what's a word of advice? Anyone out there that is a small, tiny company just getting started, all the way to the biggest and baddest, top 150 across the board? Is it the work hard, play hard? Is it what's the motto that you sort of live and die by?
Yeah, it's a great question. I am naturally like an instinctual person where I can find my way through situations. I can relate to people pretty easily. I can find a way to get things done. And what I've learned more and more over the past 5 years in this position is, right, that the team is only as good as your worst process.
Yep.
And I'm not naturally a process-oriented guy. I have to force myself to go do it. And I can look at the divisions of this company that are winning, and I can look at the ones that are, struggling or behind, that we're trying to work on and get better. And it almost always comes down to not just process for process sake, but the quality of the process, the trial and error that we went through to create something that we then document and hold people accountable for following. And so I've had to really work on myself to become a process person.
Yep.
Almost that maniacal level of focus of, I'm a broken record on, hey, well, this team isn't doing it. Like, what's their process? Can I see their SOPs? Like, who's holding them accountable? And if I go ask them a question about, hey, what happens after this? And if they don't know that, then I'm going to the team leader going, hey, buddy, like, what are they supposed to do after this? And it's like, oh, let me look it up, or okay, I see where the breakdown is here. That's on me. We got to dive in. We got to make sure that our team knows what our expectations are and go do it is one. And I think a second one is, I think this is just really important to the different sizes of businesses and where they are in landscaping, and it applies directly to us, is not only is competency important from, do they have the skills to do accounting, or do they have the skills to do the manual labor, to be an irrigation technician, or to be an account manager. They've got to come out of previous work experience that either mimics the environment that you have from like a pace. We've hired a lot of people that are on paper, excellent character, competency, chemistry, all those things, flying colors, but they get here and they don't think it's real that the company's growing 40-45% a year. And that's like a hair on fire. You're doing whatever job pops up, whatever new problem pops up, and like that flexibility to jump in and solve problems and build process behind so it doesn't break again and go do it, versus a multinational corporation or something like that where they're aiming to beat inflation, right? To get to 5% or 6% or 3%. Like, it's so different, the environment. And we see people in the past that have come here that are like, I really want to go to a fast-paced environment. I really want that. I really want that. And then they show up and it's like, oh my God, like, y'all, it really is that fast pace. And I don't know if I'm ready for this, or vice versa, right? We'll have someone leave and go, hey, I want to spread my wings and go work for this Fortune 500 or go work for this national company. And we go, awesome, great. And they get over there and they get put in this tiny little box of the hyper exaggeration here, but you're going to click return on the screen 15 times or 150 times a day on this Excel document. And they're going, crap, I miss the autonomy. I miss the problem solving, getting to use my brain versus just my brawn here. And we've been so fortunate to welcome a couple of those back into the organization. And so making sure that the pedigree of what they're used to, the pace of work, is just as important as those other things. And so we're trying to come up with another C that can help us look for that, because that's been our biggest miss on personnel lately is we'll nail the 3 C's. So I don't think it's 3 C's and a P for pace, but we got to come up with something that reflects that, because that's been our next. So
it's a process. It's a process, and you grow, right? It's never going to be perfect with the 3 C's for another 50 years, right? So it's kind of that evolution, the journey. It's a marathon race for as long as we're on this earth, and that's the beauty of it. So I got a few Tommy's takeaways. So bear with me, Lex, if I pick something up, interject. But what I learned about Lex in the Weathermatic team is, let's go. 80 years of being in this industry. Boom, check. 1 out of like 200 clients that use service and installed products went out of business. That's like a proven track record of your products. Love it. What sets you apart in your competition? The 2 things that I love the most is warranty, right? Actually, 3 things. I'm going to make it 3 things. Warranty, that's digital e-commerce, buying power. You've got a simplicity of 50 or more or so SKUs. You've simplified the business, made it tailored to the landscape of irrigation companies out there. And the 3rd thing is the customer support. Love it. It's amazing. The products are great. Inspections generate revenue. Like, I love that. It's just awesome. Without geeking out on all the parts, the 3 C's, character, competency, and chemistry, you're looking on a 4th. I love the screening process. And my biggest other takeaway is the most amazing person out there that I've met in a long time, Brody Bruner. May him rest in peace. This episode is 100% dedicated to that awesome, amazing person. I think he's built such a great law of attraction of culture coming into Weathermatic. I love the guy a lot, and we'll dedicate this thing to him. Lex, you're amazing. Keep doing awesome work, and we'll see you on the road.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you. Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, everybody. This was a lot of fun.
Ready to take the next step? Download our free profitability scorecard to quickly create your own baseline financial assessment and uncover the fastest ways to improve your business. Just go to mcfarlandstanford.com/scorecard to get yours today. To learn more about McFarland Stanford, our best-in-class peer groups, and other services, go to our website at mcfarlandstanford.com, and don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time on The Roots of Success.